guys, and welcome to today's Los Blancos podcast. Today we'll be discussing the new Huijsen signing, who's come into our club at a price point of 50 million euros. And yeah, it's a huge signing for the club because it's been 7 years since we last signed a centre-back for actual money. And in terms of actually signing a player for actual money, a defender for actual money, is Fran Garcia. And then before that, I would like to say it was probably going to be Ferland Mendy and Eder Militao. So it's been a long time since we spent money on an actual player, and it's a huge transfer for us because this is where we lost the season, our lack of depth in the defence, and someone like Huijsen is going to be like a huge addition to this team defensively. And with the new manager coming in next season, Xabi Alonso, we'll discuss Xabi Alonso on a separate podcast that's coming up. But yeah, once it's fully announced, that's why we haven't done Trent yet, even though that's been here we go for a couple weeks now. So I think let's discuss Huijsen's fit and Real Madrid. The first thing I want to talk about is his centre-back partners, because we've had a couple of issues this season, to say the least, with Eder Militao's injury long term, which has now made us doubt whether he is long term the centre back for us. I still have faith in him because I believe he has the ability to get back to where he was. He just needs to be smarter than he was last time. So yeah, I think Eder Militao needs to be a bit smarter with that, but I have confidence that he can get back to a good level. Raul Asensio, I'm still not 100% sure he's going to be like a starting level player for us, and even if he isn't, that's okay. Like to get to Nacho, a solid backup centre back type player from Castilla, that's valuable use of Castilla in my opinion, and something where I think Raul Asensio will be a valuable player for us for years to come. I think he provides us with so much defensively that I think he'll be valuable no matter what. So I'm excited to have Raul Asensio in the squad. And then we've got guys like Rudiger and Alaba, both of which are coming to the end of their career. Alaba especially is not in great condition, and I think a sale would be best for all parties at this point. I know in terms of Rudiger, I think his injuries are only going to get worse at this point of his career. I feel like he is the wrong side of 30 at this point. He is going to decline, so I think at this time this is an essential signing to bring in a new centre back. We didn't bring in a replacement for Nacho last year, and I think it did cost us this season. The fact that we just didn't have anybody to play across the back line, it really did hurt us in a lot of ways. And I know Nacho didn't exactly have a best season last year, but not having someone who can at least do that job, it did cost us. So I think, not least, I think that really helps. Let's talk about Huijsen's his profile. Defensively, if I'm looking at his stats right now, his actual tackling numbers aren't fantastic. He's in the bottom 38% for tackles, which and in the bottom 38% for percentage of dribblers tackled in one-on-one situations. So you can see he's not exactly this master of one-on-one challenges like Sergio Ramos or Maldini. But I think one thing I've noticed as well, he is a very good intercepting centre-back. 1.9 interceptions, which I think is very important in Real Madrid, where you don't really have much cover a lot of the time. There is a lot of chaos. So having that ability to perceive the game, be smart on the defensive end, I think is very important. We've seen someone like Rafa Varane, who I think I've over the last few years I've really mentioned how much we need a guy like Rafa Varane, who can be a bit smarter, a bit laid back, because we've got guys who are a little bit more erratic at this club. We've got guys like Rudiger, we've got Asensio, we've got Militao, who will be a bit more erratic. We need someone to take a step back and be a bit more sensible, and I think that's what Huijsen is. I think he is a lot more sensible. So 1.9 interceptions a game. I think someone like Huijsen in a system like Iraola's at Bournemouth, I think, is I think it's very, very similar to how Real Madrid would want to set up, in terms of being a bit more crazy, a bit more chaotic, a bit more random, a bit more spontaneous from the defenders. So I think he's a bit set up to play like that. I'm happy with that defensive fit, and I think the profile fit next to our guys. The reason why I wanted Lenny Oro so much last season was I saw Rafa Varane in Lenny Oro. I saw a guy who was smarter, who knew how to play up from the back, but was also quite quick. Who was also quite smart, and who knew what to do next to his centre back partner. I think someone like Huijsen also brings that, and I think Huijsen is a better defender than Lenny Oro, and a better player than Lenny Oro. So I'm really excited about that, and I think he fits really nicely again, alongside someone like Raúl Asensio, if Asensio does want to make that step to being a starting level defender. So I'm liking that fit a lot. I think he's a very good fit. I think the most important thing about him, I think what I've seen from him is his passing ability is very good as well. He's in the top 3% for passes attempted, long balls, and in the top 7% for the completed passes for long balls. So you're talking about a guy who's very good at playing out from the back, and very good at making those long passes, which I think is very important. And for a team like Bournemouth, who want to play a little bit of the counter sometimes, who want to be want to be launching counter attacks quickly, I think that can translate very nicely to a team like Real Madrid. A lot of the times when we've seen us score some good goals has been this season when Raúl Asensio has launched a centre a beautiful pass into Mbappe or Jude, and I think someone like Huijsen is better than that, better than Asensio at doing that. So I think it could be very valuable to have that outlet, especially with the fact that we're missing Toni Kroos, and we still haven't replaced that. To have someone who can switch the ball that well, who can pass the ball across long distances that well and make those passes every game, I think is very valuable to have. Even if it is from centre back, I think it's very, very, very valuable to have. I think another thing I was really impressed by was his 6.7 passes into the final third, top 6% in Europe for that, for centre backs. I think that's a very impressive statistic. The fact that he's a centre back and he's able to make those passes, I think it's very incisive. We've had a lack of incision in our team, a lack of ability to cause threat a lot of the time. So to have someone who can just advance the ball, who is always looking to advance the ball, I think is very important, and I think that could be really valuable for us, because we've just been tame a lot of the times, and so if we have someone just to push that pace, push that tempo a little bit, I think that'll be really important. I think the most impressive thing, there's also, I've just seen this 1.6 shot creating actions, which is really, really good for a centre back. That's what you expect of a midfielder. That's really impressive from a centre back. The thing that I'm really impressed by from Huijsen is his progressive carrying. Now we've seen some of his plays. We've seen some of his plays, and in terms of his carrying ability, I think it's really, really impressive. Really good, in my opinion. Some of the best from a centre back across Europe. I think a lot of the times, when these centre backs come out, we don't see some of that beautiful playing out ability. But I think this is really good from him. I think the fact he's a 6 foot guy moving like he's 6'5" guy, like he's moving like he's 6 foot is quite crazy. You see it with his 1.5 progressive carries a game, top 8% for that, and he's in the top 11% for carries into the final third. He's very, very hard to stop, and I think if you're going to play a back three under Xabi Alonso, one of the centre backs is probably going to have to make a couple runs into the back. We've seen Rudiger do that in the past with Chelsea under Tuchel, but to have that option of Huijsen doing it as well, I think is very nice, and I think that could be pretty valuable for us to have next season. So I'm excited to see that, and I think I'm really, really hopeful that he can be a really valuable centre back to push that pace a little bit, to push that tempo, and I think we've struggled with that a lot this season. The fact that once it goes to our centre backs, it does feel like a moment of relief. And I think the point I want to make there is, if we look at Barcelona and we compare ourselves to Barcelona, which I don't like doing, but I tend to do it quite a lot, is one of the things that they've done so well this season is their unrelenting pressure, the constant, just need to keep going on the opponents where they don't have a second to breathe. And I think one of the main contributing factors is the fact that their centre backs continue that threat. They, just to bring that back to Real Madrid, when the ball goes out to our centre backs, Rudiger and Asensio, it does feel like a moment of relief for the opposition team. That can, okay, now we can get out. Now we can move forward. We can take a little breather while they move it around to the back. That shouldn't be the case. You should feel like the centre backs are the last minute choice where you have to just move it to the other side, for example. And I just feel like that hasn't been the case a lot of the time for Real Madrid. So for someone like Huijsen to come in and push that tempo to be able to keep that pressure going, to push that defense back, the opposition defense back, I think is really important. And so if we're going to play like a little bit forward, a little bit more of a pressing system, a little bit more move that line higher up, then I think Huijsen's going to have to be really, really important in that sense. So yeah, I think I'm happy with that as a result. In terms of next season as well, I think obviously we've got Xabi Alonso coming in. Who plays at centre back is my question, because if it's a back three, I think Dani Carvajal also becomes a centre back option. Well, me and Sean have discussed this in the past. I remember when Rudiger initially came in, I think we were talking about potential back three, but it never happened, obviously. But we said how I think that Ferland Mendy and Dani Carvajal can be used as centre backs, and we've seen Dani Carvajal do it. I think that right centre back role could be a nice situation where he could play. So I'm not opposed to that idea of having Dani Carvajal as that when he comes back from injury. For me, I think next season the back three should look like Rudiger on the left hand side, Raul Asensio down the middle, and then Huijsen on the right. I think that would be the best course of action. Maybe you want to have Raul Asensio on the right. I think that could also be the case because he's a bit more aggressive, so you might want to have that covering the wings. So I think that might be the choice as well. But I think I really like that fit. I mean, let's talk about his history a little bit as well. So he's a Malaga youth prospect. He was at Malaga. I think he was born in Malaga as well. Came through Malaga's youth system for many years. Then Juve came in, and I don't know how much they paid for him. I think it's definitely a bit concerning how Juve was so quick to get rid of him. I just didn't understand why they did it. In my opinion, last season, it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, he was 19. He was a 19-year-old centre back. Juve are a team that needed centre backs to move forward, and they needed young prospects to move forward, and they just got rid of him. And that really did kind of like scare me off of him a little bit, because I was not sure why Juve just got rid of him. But after seeing some people from Juve talk about it, some fans from Juve, some people that are close to Juve talk about it, I think it was just a complete fuck up on Juve's end. So I think I'm not too worried about that. I think it's not a huge problem for me. So I think that's all right. Last season against Bournemouth, this season I should say, for Bournemouth, he's been an excellent defender under Iraola, and that's the reason why we spent so much on him. I'm really happy with this signing. I think it's going to really revolutionise this defence. We needed some additions desperately. We couldn't go into next season just doing the same things as we did last year. So I think I'm really happy with this. Hopefully he can get off to an excellent start, and yeah, hopefully he can be the centre back our future, and I believe he can. And it's one other thing I want to add. It's really important to have this Spanish guy in. You know, it's really important to have this Spanish identity. I'm not one of those guys who are like, Real Madrid should stay Spanish. I don't really care about that, but I think it is important to have, you know, if you're going to be the biggest team in Spain, you know, you've got to have at least one Spanish player in the starting 11. You've got at least have one, like, you know, I think it's quite embarrassing the fact that in the Euros, Spain wins it, and we have just Dani Carvajal as the only Spanish guy in the starting 11. That's kind of embarrassing, especially when you look at Barcelona and they've got how many? Quite a few. Lamine, Cubarsí, Pedri, and then they got guys like Fermin and Gavi off the bench. You know, it's kind of embarrassing. Then you look at Real Madrid and we've got Dani Carvajal and then Joselu and that's it. And they're both obviously aging. So I think to have, you know, the core centre backs of Den Huijsen and Asensio coming through. Hopefully we can now bring in Álvaro Fernandez as well, another potential addition to this Spanish core that we need to keep bringing in. But I also see the guys coming through Castilla who have been really good over the last few weeks. Victor Munoz, I think, has looked really good against Sevilla and had some promising moments in our Clásico as well. I think Gonzalo Garcia is also a very exciting player, and when he moves to Celta next season, which is what probably is going to happen, I'm not 100% sure, but it's probably what's going to happen. When he moves to Celta next season, he's going to look great. I believe and think he's going to be a great addition for Celta. You've also got guys like Diego Aguado, Joao Martinez. You've got guys like Jesus Fortea, Lorenzo Aguado. So I think all of the above. I think you need to get a few more Spanish guys in. You need to get those Castilla guys in just to give you a bit more of that Spanish influence. You keep yourself a tad bit Spanish. You know, you need to have that identity somewhat. So I think, apart from that, that's all I've got to add on Den Huijsen. Obviously, over the next coming weeks, we'll be discussing a few extra players. We'll be discussing Carlo Ancelotti's departure from Real Madrid and obviously Xabi Alonso's incoming. There'll be a Carlo Ancelotti tribute podcast as well. A Luka Modric tribute podcast coming up. Trent, when he's announced, will be coming up. Álvaro Fernandez when he's announced. And then if we sign a midfielder, potentially Angelo Stiller, maybe Enzo Fernandez. All of these guys will be discussed alongside some other videos. So yeah, Club World Cup as well coming up. So yeah, busy summer coming up. But apart from that, that's all I've got to say. Thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.